less than 2,000.
The podcast.
I can open your eyes, take you wonder by wonder, on a magic carpet ride, a whole new world.
Okay, I thought we were talking about Aladdin, not making up our own, remakes of the most famous song from Aladdin ever made.
Well, okay, one of the things about that song is that, first of all, it was one of the first Disney songs that was like played on the radio regularly that I remember, like as a single. I heard that on Sweet 98 all the time. Okay, one of my favorite lines from that is like when they're kind of doing the duet, and he goes, "Don't you dare close your eyes." And it's like, dude, he's so like pushy. It's like he's a little dominating. Like, what? Don't you dare close your eyes.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but there's so much that's pretty taboo in today's society that was actually in Aladdin.
Well, and believe it or not, I mean, it was a little. This was actually somewhat feminist for the time. It was kind of a girl power kind of thing. She was not like just some damsel. Yes, she's the princess that needs to find a husband and all that, but she kind of resented it. She.
You're 100% right. She was powerful. She was like rejecting what her past told her she had to be. You're right.
I really liked that, and it was kind of surprising going back and watching it. Like, it was more empowering than I remembered, and kind of ahead of its time in some ways. But then, of course, she lets Aladdin tell her to, "Don't you dare close your eyes."
You can't go all the way. Aladdin can't be a little either the whole time. He needs to have a little strength to him. I mean, he was a common thief.
My memories of this movie, the reason why I wanted to expand our audiences and go and do Aladdin specifically to directly appeal to all the women out there, is that I remember that girls loved this movie. Girls it was on the radio. Girls, for some reason, loved Aladdin, like even more than Beauty and the Beast, it seemed like. Maybe it was the time that it came out in my life. So it came out in November 92. It was a huge thing. And I remember the summer of 93, I went to the summer camp. And that's when I started meeting girls for the first time. And this song was on all the time. Even 7 months later, it was still being played. And I specifically remember my troop that I was in, we did a parody of this song, A Whole New World. And no, it didn't have dirty lyrics like that. It was like, I know, it was more like, "Don't you dare lose your off." Because there were so many bad bugs and stuff like this. A whole new camp. That's what it was. But do you remember, that was the first time we started hanging out with women, and I introduced you to your first girls, and we started talking to them on the phone and meeting them at the park and stuff.
How could you forget that summer? I mean, that was literally, you went off to camp and came back, you're like, "Yo, I got to introduce you to this. I met some girls, man."
I left a summer camp as a boy, and I came back as a man. And I remembered, I got my first girlfriend out of that.
So Aladdin, a magic carpet ride, where a common thief and a princess can come together and fall in love.
That was a good setup. I have nowhere to go with it. Aladdin, 1992, was the highest grossing film of 1992 and made over $500 million and was the highest grossing animated film of all time until The Lion King.
No way.
That's what Wikipedia says. And then it came out on VHS and did another $500 million on VHS. I mean, this thing was so effing popular.
Yeah, and while you were out using it to, pick up girls for the first time, I watched it with my parents. I mean, I remember going to the theater with my parents and my younger brother and sister and sitting there eating popcorn as a kid, and hoping my parents didn't realize that I found the princess quasi-attractive.
So growing up, they used to release the old Disney movies from the golden era. Pinocchio and Lady and the Tramp. I remember seeing those in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought those were like new, but they turned out to be like ancient.
Well, no, because Disney wouldn't release them. They refused for a long time to get into home entertainment. So you either had to go to a theater where they were releasing it as a special and replaying it. It wasn't until VHS where they started going back, actually releasing their old content. They were late to the game. But when they did, they charged a fortune for it. It was no 1999, VHS. I mean, it was like $89 and stuff like that.
I completely forgot about that. You're right. They would not release them on video. Okay, so I remember 1981, Fox and the Hound. I definitely remember seeing Fox and the Hound. And some of these movies from the 80s were really dark.
Disney's always been dark. Bambi's mom gets shot in the beginning of the movie. There's so many dark tones to what Disney does. And it's only getting worse.
You're absolutely right. Feifel, the little mouse that like loses his parents and he's traveling all over the world trying to find his parents. Everything was like your parents died or you lost your parents. You're trying to find your parents kind of thing. Like that was the premise to everything. Can't we just have some children's entertainment that's just fun and mindless?
Well, and that's what's driving me so nuts about what's going on today is the fact that now they're making all of the idea of cartoons is like fading away. Everything is super hyper realistic. The Lion King and Aladdin, it's real people. And it's causing everything to be even more dark.
We're going to get into a side-by-side comparison. And guess how we're going to feel about those different movies. Just write it down right now what you think both of us are going to say 92 versus 2019 and see how that goes. So one of the things I noticed about watching the old Aladdin and the new Aladdin is the principal actors are so white sounding. Why are they so white? They are in the Middle East. This is a thing set in the damn Middle East, and they couldn't have sounded more white. New Aladdin, old Aladdin, the old princess, new princess, they sound white as what the hell?
Well, the new actress in the new movie, she's not white. You just watch the movie.
She's not white. She sounds white.
Well, yeah, but
she doesn't. They don't do Middle Eastern accents.
Well, that's how they sell tickets in the Midwest.
Well, I know, and that's a shame. Like they've got a worldwide audience now. They don't need to just pander.
I don't. Let me have it just be straight. I don't agree with that philosophy. Like when I see art, I want it to be realistic. You're absolutely right. You're in the Middle East. You shouldn't sound the way they sound in that movie. So I just want to clarify. I don't agree with the way Hollywood does that.
Here's your opportunity to be culturally relevant, and they are just completely white sounding. Except for in the new one, her handmaiden has the weird accent, but there's one character that has a Middle Eastern accent, and she is the whitest looking one. Go figure. I have written down here, actors so white on my notes. Do you have anything you want to get to before we get into like a comparison?
I think you summed it up with, actors so white.
Yeah, and they released... I'm really surprised about the 2019 version. I love how they have one brother in this movie, Will Smith, and he's effing blue.
Yeah, but the thing about Will Smith is he's always been Will Smith has been an icon in every American home for decades. I mean, he transcends color.
I want to do a side-by-side comparison between 92 and 2019 Aladdin versions. Aladdin. Let's start with Aladdin. To me, Aladdin never did it for me. I mean, he was just like a guy. The old one, the new one, he just didn't really jump off the screen to me. I'm not a preteen girl though. I'm not a junior high girl. They must have loved him. For me, Aladdin the character is a wash. That's a tie for me. I can't say one way or the other.
Cartoon all the way. I didn't like the new actor. Again, I think it's because I didn't like that it was a real person, but I felt like the cartoon, it was better. This guy was just so like, ugh.
You're right. I would say, now that I think about it, the cartoon version had a little bit more charisma and just that sort of dashing sort of look where the new one is kind of a putz.
Yeah, the guy's, it's totally unbelievable that he would actually get the princess. In the cartoon, he actually had more flash and flare.
Yeah, okay, so Jafar. This one is a no-brainer. Jafar, the villain, you have to nail this one. Without a doubt, it is the cartoon version. I mean, it is insane how bad new Jafar is. Why did they even do that? I mean, he had nothing. When I saw him, I'm like, no way, that's Jafar. Certainly he's going to turn more evil looking. You gotta make
And he opens up the show, and he opens up the 2019 movie. That's the problem I have with it. You start in the desert with him. The minute he came on screen, I went, I'm going to go pour another cocktail.
Arabian Nights.
Cringeworthy.
So he didn't have the voice. There was nothing to him. He didn't seem threatening at all. Old Jafar was pretty cool.
Terrifying. The cartoon version was terrifying. We were also 12.
Okay, so let's move on to the animals. The monkey Abu and the tiger Raja. Those are a wash for me. They were good in both versions. But it all comes down to the parrot. And there is absolutely no doubt in my mind, Lago, the parrot, old all the way. It was voiced by Guilford Godfrey. I'm Guilford Godfrey, and everything is, oh my God, we're just terrible. And it was so much fun. The new one is just a regular parrot. There is a regular parrot. It's like, rock, gem of the desert. He didn't have any juice to him at all. The old one was, again, hilarious. And you got Jafar and Guilford Godfrey playing off of each other. And it's just such a great dynamic. Old all the way.
The cartoon was amazing that way. I mean, the parrot to me, I mean, there was Robin Williams, and then, there was the parrot, Gilbert. I mean, he was amazing. Just that voice, it was just so distinct. And he wasn't acting like a parrot. He was a real person with a really dynamic, incredible voice playing a parrot instead of trying to be. And this is what makes me so mad about Disney is they take something so good like that, and then when they redo it, they're like, let's make him like a parrot. And then they make him parrot sounding. That wasn't the point of the original movie.
To that point, at the end, Jafar, as he's being taken into the lamp, he grabs the parrot and says, "You're coming with me." Okay, the new one, I felt sorry for the parrot. I'm like, that's just a poor regular parrot. He doesn't have any control over the situation. The cartoon version, he was fucking straight up evil. Like he was an evil conniving.
He was causing a lot of the problems.
Right. In the new one, like he was involved, he chased him and everything, but he was ordered to. He was like magically enlarged by Jafar and all this stuff. He was just a pet. And the old one, he was like independently evil. And it really kills me that Gilbert Godfrey, with such a great voice, completely ruined his career by making the wrong joke at the wrong time. Because Affleck, I mean, yes, that got old, but he's got such a great, iconic voice. The visuals, the visual effects, you're going to be surprised about this. I side with 2019 all the way. It was visually stunning. It was absolutely captivating. The color, the shot, the mise en scène of the layout. Every shot was visually stimulating, and I absolutely loved the 2019 version. The cartoon version, there were straight up cells, the animation cells, where there was no background behind it at all. Like they didn't even bother drawing a background for some scenes. They almost cheaped out a little bit on the animation on the old one.
I mean, it better be that way. If you're going to remake a movie and make it real in today's world, you better have it be visually interesting with tons of cool effects. But again, that's every movie that's made now.
Princess Jasmine. We got to talk about which version. Now, this one is really hard for me. I've always liked her. I liked her kind of empowered sort of thing.
Same.
Very beautiful, very smart.
We agree on that note.
Not a pushover. Okay, so the character is fine. Which one is better? This is a hard one. The new one, she's good. I like her. She's very pretty. She has got a good voice. And she's a human being. So she gets a little bit of an edge by being a human being instead of a cartoon.
Cartoon all the way. Because the cartoon, the fantasy isn't right in front of you. It's mythical. In the new one, it's just, oh, there she is. She's a real person. I could see her on the street.
Well,
who cares?
Well, I was going to say the tiebreaker for me on the Princess Jasmine is the fact that in the old one, there is the scene where she is the slave to Jafar, and she's wearing like a red outfit, and she tries to kind of trick him by seducing him. And I'm sorry, nothing beats cartoon Jasmine in the red bikini being all like seductive and sultry. So 1992 version all the way.
Okay, good.
One last thing to talk about. Huge thing. The Genie. You got two legends of comedy. You got Robin Williams, kind of in his 90s prime, and you've got Will Smith, who is such an accomplished actor, as you pointed out, an icon of the last 30 years. And to me, this is really close. Where do you come out on that?
As you know, I'm a huge Will Smith fan. I have been since the time I first saw him on Fresh Prince. I've seen almost every one of his movies. An amazing actor. There is no substitute for Robin Williams. He was so incredible and electric as the genie.
This is going to come as a shock to everybody who's listened to these episodes.
Well, if you announce it, then there's no shock because now everyone's prepared.
Okay. You're right. Let me redo that. Hold on to your horses, ladies and gentlemen. I actually prefer Will Smith 2019 Genie to the Robin Williams 92 version.
No
I know,
way.
Shocking, mind blown. Strap yourself down. I thought going into this, see, I just watched 2019 Aladdin to prepare for this, so I'd never seen it before. So I went into it thinking nothing is going to beat Robin Williams' performance. I mean, you got Robin Williams coked out of his mind in his 90s prime and just big and like I was thinking nobody could do that except Robin Williams, maybe Eddie Murphy, and Jim Carrey in his 90s prime could probably pull that off.
Sure.
So I was thinking this isn't even going to become close. I loved Will Smith's performance, and I thought he was funny. He had me laughing. I thought the writing was funny. The references were really modern, like he's making it rain with the money and stuff. And just some of the references were like modern and hip. And then, of course, watching the 92 version back, everything's an old reference. And like our parents would have got it. Because it was 92 and everything's 20 years behind. It was like 70s references. It was like Taxi Driver. It was like Jack Nicholson. It was all these old school 70s references. And to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't think his performance was all that good. It wasn't as great as I remembered.
Wow, that is shocking. I liked the older jokes, you know? I know I'm a lot older and wiser than you. But I mean, I don't know. I still got all the jokes. I mean, especially now, having gone back and rewatched it. I thought it was great. I mean, Will Smith was great. I mean, don't get me wrong. Will Smith was phenomenal. I mean, and it was cool to see a whole new sort of version and a whole new take. But to say it's better, I mean, I just can't get behind that. And I'm the guy who loves modern stuff. Like, I stay abreast of cinema and television.
I have to wonder how much of it has to do with the fact that my expectations for Will Smith was so low going in, and I thought there's no way this is even going to come close. And then I was so pleasantly surprised by Will Smith that I'm like, maybe that kind of flavored my perception.
Well, watch, if a year from now when you have no reason to go back and watch them because you're not preparing for this episode, I'd be curious to see what you say then.
I will say, no debate, 1992 version is better. There were some elements that I liked more in the 2019 version. Big ones, visuals, Will Smith as the genie. But there's no comparison. 1992 all the way. I didn't hate 2019 as much as I thought I would.
I'm proud of you for embracing something that's of the modern age. But we won't be talking about it on the show, so don't get used to it.